Daily Tech News Show is made possible by you, the listener. Thank you, AB Puppy, Dale Mulcahy, Matt Zaglin, and R.W. Nash. Good luck with those potatoes. On this episode of DTNS, science can help you with cheap and easy night vision and put a battery in your contact lens. Artists take their art away from prying AI eyes. And Ron Richards joins us to explain why Samsung is suing Oura over smart rings. This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, June 7th, 2024 in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
And joining us, co-founder of Scorbit and host of Android Faithful, Ron Richards.
Hey. Hello. It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you.
Yeah.
How is the pinball world? I know how the Android Faithful world is going. But
Android Faithful is going great. Pinball is great. It's very exciting. Right now, this weekend is the World Championships are happening in Inland Empire down in Southern California. Riverside. Is that right? Riverside?
Yeah.
Riverside.
Yeah.
Ontario, West Covina.
So this is a big weekend. If you are on Twitch and you look for the account IE Pinball, you'll see that they're streaming everything this weekend. So if you want to see some competitive pinball, tune into Twitch at IE
fantastic.
Pinball. Yeah,
not Internet
Pinball.
Explorer, but
Inland
Empire.
Pinball.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. My buddy of mine, Cara, is handling all the streaming from that. It's an exciting weekend. It's like the Super Bowl of pinball. So
fantastic. Oh, that's exciting. All right, let's start with the Super Bowl of short news items, the quick hits.
After issuing overly broad terms of service to protect itself when doing things like checking for illegal content like CSAM and creating thumbnails, Adobe issued a statement that it was only because it had added manual review to the automated scanning that it had been already using. Adobe's statement says it does not train its Firefly models on customer content and will never assume ownership of an Adobe user's work. The company also says it will be clarifying the terms of use acceptance consumers see when opening applications.
That last part is what I was waiting for. Like, yeah, you can say whatever you want. Put it in the terms of use, please.
Going forward.
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Features for Copilot Plus PCs haven't been controversial at all. In fact, they're not even released yet, and they're already controversial. One of the ones that we've been talking about a lot on the show, we talked about it Monday, we talked about it yesterday, is the recall feature. That's the one that can capture everything you do on your machine in order to train a model to be able to answer questions about what you've done on the machine. First, Microsoft has changed it to be opt-in. So no longer will you have to dig into settings. And granted, this was all beta, so this might have been in the plan. They just hadn't rolled it out to preview. But it will have a clear option during setup to turn it on or leave it off. And if you don't choose to turn it on, it will be off by default. Microsoft will also require Windows Hello authentication every time you enable recall to prevent someone from grabbing your laptop and doing a search through your recall stuff. And in addition, the database will only be decrypted after that authentication. So you can't just go in and look at the database either. Microsoft has also done the other thing I wanted them to do, encrypted the search index database itself beyond just the disk level BitLocker encryption so that somebody can't just exfiltrate that database. It'll be encrypted if they did. All of this is still yet to come on a laptop. The first Copilot Plus PCs are launching on June 18th.
The nationwide Samsung Electronics Union carried out a one-day strike on June 7th, the first strike in Samsung's 55-year history. Conveniently, the strike took place on a Friday between the Thursday Korean Memorial Day holiday and the weekend. So, it's still a strike.
A company called Surgical Safety Technologies is developing a black box for surgeries. So like the one on airplanes, but for the operating theater. The black box would record everything happening in the operating theater using panoramic cameras, microphones, and anesthesia monitors. It then uses algorithms to process the data and output a series of short video clips and statistics which would be useful for doing your post-op checklists. The system does not identify patients and staff. It blurs their faces. It distorts records their voices. They just want to see what procedures were followed. All recordings auto-delete after 30 days. And they admit the box has an output error rate of 15%. So the reports are actually reviewed by medical analysts at the company before being output to the hospital. So there's a human in the loop as well. Surgical Safety Technologies is deployed at 40 institutions in Canada, Europe, and the United States.
Scientists at the University of Michigan AI Laboratory have been using a bank learning model trained on human speech to decode a machine learning model, not a bank, to decode dog barks. Yeah, I was looking at barks and I said bank. So yes, machine learning model, dog barks. They fed recordings of noises from 74 dogs of varying breed ages and sexes into the model. Turns out it's about 70% accurate. Dogs.
How do they
like
know
us.
How do they know it's accurate?
Good question, actually. Like, I guess they look at the behavior somehow. Yeah. Or they asked a dog.
How do you validate that?
Yeah.
I question that.
All right, let's talk vision tech. We have two stories about ways to enhance your vision today. The first is a way to get a heads-up display in your contact lens. Scientists at Nanyang Technological University in Singapore have developed a 0.2 millimeter thick battery. Your contact lens is usually about a half a millimeter. So this is less than half the size of your contact lens. It is not lithium ion. Don't worry, your eyes are not going to explode. It is a biocompatible saline solution coated with glucose. The glucose reacts with the sodium and chloride ions to charge the battery. That means it can also be charged by the glucose in your tears. So the more you cry, the more you charge.
Oh, I'm a perfect candidate for this.
Yeah. The charging is slow. It takes 8 hours of charging to reach 80% capacity when it's plugged in outside of your eyes, and can be used for a couple of hours a day. So they got some work on battery capacity. It's low voltage too, 0.3 to 0.6 volts tops. That's not enough for data storage or even really a network connection of any kind. So they got some work to do on that. They think they can get the voltage up to where you could do network connectivity. But it is low cost. They say the thing is these materials are cheap. So, once you get up to scale, it should only be a few dollars per battery to make these.
Okay, so as somebody who wears contact lenses, I wear soft contact lenses. I know there are the hard contact lenses, but I think those are not in as widespread use anymore. To fit something like this within the extremely thin contact lens I put in every morning, all good. But would it add to the bulk? Because that, I think, counts for a lot.
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't see whether this makes it 0.7 millimeters,
just kind of gets inside there somewhere.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're thin and flimsy. You got to be real careful with these things. Also, I mean, I love the idea of this, but what is the real world way that when I have a battery in my contact lens, I do anything better?
Well, this seems like the first step towards the Star Trek Geordi LaForge post visor solution, right?
Yep.
Where eventually we have an AR system that is in a contact lens. It's going to need to draw power somehow. So presumably this is the path to it. But if it's got to be able to carry data. The question is it's not powerful enough for data storage. But where are you storing the data? Is there another part of the contact lens that also has data storage? The thing that gets me about the idea of a contact lens as an AR display is that you have such limited real estate, and the nanotechnology or technology has got to be as close to nano as possible. But we got to make these steps before we get there, I guess.
Yeah, the data storage is, I think, just for caching, like very small amounts of data storage. We're not talking about 100 gigabyte hard drive on a contact lens.
Well, you got to run the software.
Say that now.
Yeah.
Say that now. I want a 1 terabyte left eye.
But
wait a minute, I left that file in my contact lens. Hang on, let me go get it.
To your point, Sarah, though, anything that is done in AR glasses that you're like, oh, that would be cool. It'd be cool to be able to see directions or have identification of who I'm talking to, or any of that stuff could work. But also there's health solutions. There's vision assistance and other kinds of accessibility things they could talk to or do. And that's what their first perceived business is, being able to sell them as a healthcare option for people.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've talked before about, some of us need to wear glasses or otherwise have eye correction, eyewear contacts because, I just don't want to wear glasses every day. Tom feels opposite of me. But for folks who are like, I can't just, I don't know, let's, fast forward to when AR glasses are all the rage and you need them for life. We're not there yet. We're still trying to, prove the model. But let's say we get there. If you can't wear glasses, this sounds like the right option.
Next is night vision in a pair of reading glasses instead of a big old honking headset. Scientists at ARC Center of Excellence for Transformative Meta-Optical Systems, or TMOS in Australia, have developed a way to put night vision in regular old specs. Night vision currently involves an electronic image intensifier that converts infrared photons to electrons and then multiplies them. So you're basically amplifying the light. Those electrons then hit a phosphor-coated screen, and that makes that glow green that you see in night vision displays. This new way of doing it uses a lithium niobate metasurface, which boosts the infrared photons into the visible spectrum. So it just increases their wavelength without the need to convert them to electrons. That allows not only for night vision from an ultra-thin film, but it improves the resolution. It's a better quality view as well. But yeah, this is cling wrap thick stuff that you can put on glasses and boom, night vision.
I know this was an Australian research project, and not everybody has seen the visuals, but I love how one of the options was like, and you can see a kangaroo in pitch black. Where I'm like, are kangaroos like nocturnal animals that we need night vision for?
They were just
Maybe
looking around at night to what was around them. They were in Australia. Yeah.
You can watch the dingo eat your baby.
Oh,
Ron. Somebody had to go there. All right. But I actually think this is probably this one may be closer to be more practical, although they are farther away from commercialization than the contact lens, in that, lightweight night vision would be a huge boon for tons of industries, military applications, of course, but also hunters and wildlife trackers, birders. Anything that just makes it cheaper and easier to carry around night vision, I think would expand the uses, probably put it to uses that we never thought of before because it was too bulky and expensive to use.
With my neighborhood feral cat colony, I would like these right now. Just, if I got to walk the dog after 10 p.m. type thing.
Right.
That's a good that's a good use for sure. I just think it's fascinating that we're going from those enormous night vision goggles with just basically like this big thing in front of you with the dials and everything to just like a thin film that you put over glasses. Like that seems like a big leap. I'm sure there's something in between that we're skipping or missing, but like every time I've seen night vision, it's been that huge, enormous thing that you got to put on. And so
it's one of the things that metamaterials don't get enough attention for is like you can make those big leaps when you discover these materials like that.
Very cool.
All right. An artist-run anti-AI social platform called Cara, C-A-R-A, founded in late 2022, has struck a recent chord with people who want to share their creative work off of something like Meta-owned Instagram. Cara has grown from 40,000 users to 650,000 users within the last week. That is growth that is always going to get some attention. As a user, you can use both a web or mobile version. Artists can host a portfolio of their work and also post updates to their feed like you would do on X or any other microblogging platform. But you might say, okay, so why the sudden uptick? Well, Meta is using public posts to train its generative AI systems. European users can opt out of being part of that based on GDPR laws, but a lot of other artists can't. TechCrunch spoke to photographer and Cara founder Jingya Zhang, who says that this is the place for artists who don't want to take the risk of their work becoming part of some sort of training data set for AI. Chang wrote on X, using a different medium was irrelevant. My work being available online was irrelevant. Consent was necessary. So I know, there are a lot of social network offshoots that come and go all the time. Sometimes it's too niche to scale. it does sound in Cara's situation that it wasn't supposed to be anything other than a niche thing for artists. Sounds like the uptick in users has been, obviously flattering, super great for a lot of people to find each other, but also comes with another host of problems because, for example, in Cara's case, their hosting server ended up charging them like a ridiculous amount because they just had too many people pinging the server.
Well, I mean, it's scale, right? This is what we. I mean, this has been the story that we've seen for what the last. I mean, now I'm gonna make us all feel old for like the past 20, 25 years, right? Where an application comes out and it hits the right place at the right time and strikes a chord with an audience, and then it hockey sticks and it's not set up to scale for that. So like while they got charged a crazy amount for their hosting, it's because they drove a ton of bandwidth and like that's what it costs. And now they've got to figure out how to adjust their infrastructure to make it more affordable and all that sort of stuff. But it was funny that we were talking about this earlier because this app hit my radar earlier this week because in the comic book world, the comic book artists all jumped on it and scrambled and were posting where they can, you come find me here, whatever. And it's this new application emergence land grab that seems to happen every 8 to 12 months or so, where there's a new social media platform alternative and everybody rushes and registers and says they're going to start using it, and then usage trails off. So like for Cara's sake, I hope that they are able to figure out how to level their costs and their infrastructure, but then be prepared for the inevitable downtrend that will happen when people don't stick around or move on to the next thing.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. And Chang has done this before, tried to do like artist alternatives to things. None of them have stuck yet. Maybe this is the one that does. But it is really difficult, even when you're doing it for the right reason. Ask the Mastodon people circa 2017 to get people to stick around, even when they all come flooding in.
Or I mean, Ello. Do you remember Ello?
Yeah.
Right. Right. Mastodon, obviously. Mastodon, Blue Sky, Hive. Like I could just the run, and it's funny because the reasoning is that at least for my kind of social circle and the areas that I run, because like AI fear is a real thing. Everybody seems to not want the AI. A whole bunch of people are posting that thing in Instagram stories where like, by posting this, I'm not allowing Instagram to use my stuff for AI, thinking that that's legally binding. It's not. But everybody wants an alternative to Instagram or Twitter or X. I'm not going to call it X. We call it Twix on Android, faithful. But everybody wants some sort of alternative to those platforms, but there's so much scale that the actual act of leaving them to go to another platform becomes too much for people to handle, and they all just settle back on Instagram or on Twitter. Like that's just we've seen this playbook before.
Yeah, and it's a challenge to do it as a co-op. You don't have an angel investor who can write a check to cover those big hosting fees you were talking about, Sarah. So again, not saying that any of this stuff means that it's not worth trying, but there are more obstacles to a venture like this succeeding because of that, sadly.
Yeah. And I mean, this is a great way to get the attention of venture and a great way to get an angel.
But she says she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to be beholden to other people. So
keep paying $100,000 every month.
I get that. But
yeah, I mean, it's like get to a scary place and then let's talk. Yeah. But yes, I also feel like I was reading a lot of discourse about Cara online and why artists like it and want something like it, and people were saying it feels like DeviantArt early days, and for a creative community that wants something kind of just for them, even though, art and also some chatter back and forth. If you don't feel like you belong on something like Instagram, even though that's where a lot of people are, then yeah, it's a community. And a community doesn't always have to be like, oh, this is how I leverage my brand. I mean, sure, that's probably what a lot of artists want to do, but being with your peeps, your people, doesn't always have to be about some big sort of corporate thing. And I think that's what Chang and the folks that have volunteered, to help in the effort with Cara are doing. And I applaud them for that.
And I agree with you, Sarah. I think the one thing that is missing, or the one thing that's tough with it, is that a friend of mine is a comic book writer by the name of Matthew Rosenberg, and he posted on social around this Cara stuff, and he's like, I'm not setting up an account on Cara because after Blue Sky, Mastodon, Hive, etc., I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And
I'm not. There's that.
And he said, I'm not going to spend time and resources to use my art to prop up another service where I'm not getting any sort of compensation. He said, alternatively, go artists, set up a Patreon, set up a Substack, set up a website on Ghost, set up something where you can directly support the artists. Gumroad, like there's all these other kind of platforms that enable a direct monetary support of art. And you do miss that community then, and you do miss the discovery element, but it's a good factor where like everyone running to Cara, maybe if Cara's smart, think about a way for these artists to be supported and sustain their art at the same time, and build an interesting financial
To me,
model
those are two different things. Like Cara is for discoverability and a little bit for community, and Chang is a professional photographer. Like she does real work, so she wants to get paid for her art. To me, it's like Cara is a place for people who want to build up that following and get exposure, and then Patreon and other things are places to send them to be like, once you've gotten exposed, come over and take a look at what I do and support it directly. Because I'm with you. It's just that Patreon is doing better at discoverability, but it's still not close.
It's still a challenge. It's so hard. Yeah.
I will give Cara big credit. Like their apps look great. I'm looking at the Android app on the Pixel Fold, and it's gorgeously done. It's well developed. So good on you for that. Folks, we do a top 5 every week. It's 60 seconds long. You have no excuse not to watch it. And especially this week, you're going to want to see it because it's the top 5 PCs from the Soviet Union. That's right. In the Soviet Union, the PCs count you. You can catch it at Daily Tech News Show on TikTok, DTNS Picks on Instagram, and youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show. The Verge reported on Monday that Samsung had filed a lawsuit against Oura, makers of the Oura smart ring. They're seeking a declaratory judgment stating that the Galaxy Ring does not infringe on 5 of Oura's patents. It's a preventative lawsuit. They're like, just say it now before we get sued by Oura. The lawsuit also revealed the Galaxy Ring is expected to go on sale in the U.S. in or around August of this year. That's probably my favorite part of this lawsuit, Ron.
Yeah, I mean that was the big news of the fact that in filing this lawsuit, everyone's been since January. When is the Samsung Ring coming out? When is the Samsung Ring coming out? Now we know. In or around August. So end of the summer, you can take a look at it. Obviously, Samsung has an event coming up that we'll probably hear more about it from, and then eventually released in August. And like you mentioned, they wanted to get ahead of any potential litigation because Oura likes to litigate. Oura likes to sue people. So
I know you're not a lawyer, but you found a couple of good sources. Can you kind of lay out for the layman what's going on with this lawsuit?
Yeah, sure. And I actually found a great breakdown of it on a website called dcrainmaker.com, which is actually a lawyer, which is pretty cool. But basically what's happening here is that, so obviously Oura and other smart rings have been out in the market before. In January, Samsung announces that they're going to be coming out with a ring, and that got a lot of attention, and I got the attention of Oura, who immediately after that announcement in January were putting forth their CEO to put their brand out in the conversation, backed by the fact that they own many, many patents in the smart ring space. And as evidenced, they are not afraid to protect those patents. They've already, in the past 2 years, have got a handful of lawsuits against competitors. They sued Circular. Wow, my Long Island accent came out there. Circular, Ultrahuman, and Ringcon, to name a few in the past couple of years. They have about 100 patents that they're using to enforce to protect Oura in the marketplace. And the issue here at hand is that Samsung, seeing this behavior by Oura, seeing the fact that Oura likes to litigate, says, okay, we're going to sue preemptively because we don't want a potential lawsuit to get in the way of our rollout, to go with the negative press and that sort of thing. And in addition, the lawsuit states that they are claiming that several of Oura's patents are too general and should be invalidated. which could have huge implications on all their other previous cases, anybody else entering the marketplace, and that sort of thing. What I find really interesting about Oura is that while they are firmly established in the marketplace, all those patents were not developed by them. In fact, of their over 100 patents, the majority of them were through acquisitions. They bought a portfolio of patents at one point that included a bunch of stuff that they're using, and then they acquired other companies who had other patents. Smart on them. That's a way to play the game. But they're really I feel like patent wars we've been talking about for years, right?
Yeah, right.
Various things. And usually it's the company you're rooting for versus the patent troll. Like there's a patent troll who scooped up all these patents and they're going to put the company out of business. In Oura's case, they're being an innovative company and a patent troll at the same time, which is fascinating.
Is it really a patent troll though? I know some of the patents were acquired, but that's something that you're allowed to do and should be allowed to do. You acquire a company and acquire a patent so that you can add that to your product. If they followed the rules and the patents are valid, which I know Samsung says some of them aren't, isn't that how the way it's supposed to work? Is you don't get to rip off my work.
Yeah, yes and no. And the big question is if the patents are valid. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but if the patents are so general to stifle innovation and stifle competition, then that's a problem, right?
Yeah, then they should be invalidated. Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah.
And Oura does have a choice to make as they go forward in the marketplace to say, okay, we're going to differentiate ourselves through quality of product, through quality of service, through software, et cetera, that sort of thing. Or we can differentiate ourselves and isolate ourselves in the courtroom. Which, at least, from my point of view, I want to see competition. I want to see different I want to see different product categories emerge, and there be several players to give the consumer choice. That's the best thing. Oura wants to be the only smart ring in the marketplace, which doesn't allow for choice. So
that's the way the patent system works, though. You get a 14-year, domination
right. Yeah, except again, if the patents are too
then they should be thrown out. But if they're valid,
so the 5 patents that Samsung has taken umbrage with are a patent around the method and system for assessing a readiness score of a user. So the idea of taking your heartbeat and I don't know, I'm not a health expert, but all this stuff and give you a score of what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
The other patents are around wearable computing devices and wearable electronic and manufacturing devices. So again, not a patent lawyer. Talk to a patent lawyer to get more stuff, but at least in this article I found on DC Rainmaker, the guy gives an analysis and he says, "Hey, I'm not one to defend Samsung. They're a multi-billion global conglomerate, huge company.
But 55-year-old chaebol. Yeah.
Exactly, with one strike. But in this case, they have he thinks they have pretty good standing and pretty valid case, and right now is favoring them to win this because the existing patents are too broad and already on shaky foundation.
Yeah. So. And if that's the case, if that's what they find, that's good. Then Samsung should bring these because we have too many overbroad patents out there, and they should be valid.
And if these patents get invalidated, then the smart ring manufacturer marketplace opens up even more because more players can play and that sort of thing. So
and this patent case alone shows that this is a market that at least 2 companies think are worth fighting over, right?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Oura, despite their patent troll tendencies, are doing very, very well. So according to them, they've sold over 1 million of the rings so far. In terms of, I think they've done 8 rounds of funding where they've raised about $148 million and are currently their last round of fundraising put them at a $2.5 billion valuation. And that was in April of 2022. So when Samsung made that announcement, I think I said it to you, Tom, I think we were talking about it. I felt like the Samsung entering this wearable ring validated that category, right? Here's a major player, will Apple be far behind and that sort of thing. But the way Oura's, it's already been validated. I didn't see these numbers until researching it just now. It seems like Oura is well on their way to being, pretty established as the go-to smart wearable ring. And they obviously want to protect themselves while doing it. So
yeah. All right. Before we get out of here, let's look into what Chris Christensen is up to, Sarah.
Oh, well, if you're enjoying traveling on cruises and maybe even would like to travel on a cruise by yourself, but aren't so interested in the idea of sharing a cabin, Chris Christensen might have a good website for you.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. I have another useful but ugly website for you, and this is from vacationstogo.com. If you're interested in cruise discounts, this is a great site for finding things like senior discounts, EMTs, firefighters, military, residents of California, but especially singles, because singles can be expensive for cruises if you don't have someone you want to share a cabin with. So go to vacationstogo.com, look for more cruise discounts, click on singles, and then show me the deals, and you'll see an ugly but useful website that's run by Cold Fusion. Kids, ask your parents. It's back from when the web was run on hamsters, but that you can look for places for cruises that have up to 100% single supplement discount. And so that's quite useful if you're traveling by yourself. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
I love that. Yeah. Never thought about going on a cruise alone, but if I could and have my own cabin,
yeah, right,
might be kind of fun.
Yeah, bring down the price a little. That's cool. A good resource, even if it is an older design.
How can Cold Fusion still be working in 2024? Is that secure?
Well, somebody built by Cold Fusion for sure. Ron Richards, thank you so much for being with us today. Let folks know where they can keep up with all that you do.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sarah. It was great to be here. You can follow me out on social at RonXO. I'm on Cara. In fact, I signed up for that as well. But most importantly, head over to AndroidFaithful.com. That's where you can see our brand new website. I've been on the show in the past talking about Win and Michelle and Jason and myself with the Android Faithful podcast, which is going to be a year old in a month, which is pretty exciting. But we early May, we launched a new website, and that's where we're doing even more content around the world of Android. So check it out. We're super proud of it, and we're going to be just keep the content machine going, because none of us like to sleep. So,
no, it's impressive, folks. You got to go check out AndroidFaithful.com. And it's just crazy how much content y'all are putting out with the podcast and the post and everything else. It's wild.
Still not enough.
Never enough.
That's how Ron's always been.
I know.
He's just a product guy. More.
Well, patrons, stick around for the extended show, Good Day Internet. It's Friday. We love to do fun stuff on Friday, so we have a trivia quiz created from the mind of Roger Chang about rings. And Ron's here, so might have a little comic edge to it as well. Can you figure out the answers before we do? Stick around and find out.
You can also catch our show live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 2000 UTC. And you can always find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We hope you have a great weekend. We're back on Monday covering WWDC with Nica Montford and Terrance Gaines. Talk to you then.
This week's episodes of Daily Tech News Show were created by the following people. Host, producer, and writer Tom Merritt. Host, producer, and writer Sarah Lane. Executive producer and booker Roger Chang. Producer, writer, and co-host Rob Dunwood. Video producer Joe Kuntz. Producer at large Anthony Lemos. Spanish language host, writer, and producer Dan Campos. Science correspondent Dr. Nikki Ackermans. Social media producer and moderator Zoe Detterding. Our mods, Beatmaster W. Scottis1, BioCow, Captain Kipper, Steve Guadarrama, Paul Reese, Matthew J. Stevens, aka Gadget Virtuoso, and JD Galloway. Mod and video hosting by Dan Christensen. Music and art provided by Martin Bell, Dan Luders, Mustafa A, Acast, and Len Peralta. Acast ad support from Tatiana Matias. Patreon support from Tom McNeil. Contributors for this week's shows include Shannon Morse, Scott Johnson, Justin Robert Young, and Chris Christensen. Our guests this week were Sean Hollister and Ron Richards. And thanks to all the patrons who make the show possible.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.